Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm Agnes Garaba, and I'm the head of HR for EMEA South. So I look after Southern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And I'm new to the region. I've only moved over here from North America about 4 weeks ago, but I am not new to SAP. I've been with the company for about 13 years, and I really had the chance to go through our own HR transformation firsthand and experience it myself. So I'm really hoping to share with you today all the learnings that we had, and also then will be lovely to hear from one of our precious customers today as well. So first of all, what prompted for us to think about the journey, and even before I go there, the name of the session today we had is to ignite your people through your company's purpose. And our company has a very ambitious purpose. It is to help the world run better and to improve people's lives. And if you think about that purpose, it's quite an ambitious one, and you wonder, well, how could every employee feel like they are contributing to that? And we actually do. I really feel that most of us at SAP do a lot towards our purpose, but to achieve that, we really need engaged employees. And to have engaged employees, we needed to rethink how our HR supports them. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our journey for about half an hour, and then we'll get our customer up here as well. So what prompted for us the imperative to think about digitalizing and rethinking how our HR works at SAP? If you think about the digitalization, every company these days are rethinking the way how they operate, the way they are organized, and their strategy, and we have to. And it's the same for us in HR. Everybody is striving for great experiences. Everything is digital. We do everything today, these days, through our mobile phone. Everything has to be a fantastic experience. And we wanted to make sure that us in HR also provide this experience to our employees and our leaders, and also that we are set up in a way that we are able to respond to change very, very quickly. You see some very interesting stats here of how the world is changing. And really, we had no choice but to create an organization that's very agile and ready for this change. So what you see here is generally how our HR organization evolved over the last few years. We went from a decentralized model for a few years over to a global model that we had. And again, I've been with the company since 2006, so I've lived through a lot of these models, and I could see what were the advantages, disadvantages of it. And where we are now for these past few years, and by the way, this journey is not done yet, it's an ongoing one, is to create a leading edge digital HR organization. It's really a cloud-enabled organization, and you will see everything that we do in HR in the cloud. And it's something that really focuses on employee experiences. Now, and how do we, from this vision, how do we then derive our HR strategy? I really would like to walk you through the steps of what we had to do as we were creating our HR strategy. First of all, I really like this slide because what it shows you is that we really would like to make sure that all our employees, the 90,000 plus employees, like our strategy and truly buy into it. And the other number, the followers, is the number of people in our HR organization that we want to make sure are truly buying into it. So whenever we create the strategy, we do co-create it within HR, and we get a lot of input from our employees as well. And our HR strategy is very much linked to our business strategy. Our own organization went through a really big change over the last few years, going from an on-prem company to a cloud company. And with that, we embarked on the journey of creating the intelligent enterprise. So this is really our most current business strategy, is around creating the intelligent enterprise. I won't go into those details because it would take me about an hour to explain what the intelligent enterprise comprises. But what I just would like to show you here is that our HR strategy is really created to enable the creation and the delivery of the intelligent enterprise. We can't have a strategy that's not linked to the business. And what we need to look at as we were creating our strategy, first of all, the why. Do we have an HR purpose statement? It's extremely critical to understand the why, just for our company to understand why we operate as well. And we had to define our guiding principles. That's the how. So how are we going to create this strategy? What will be the 3 key elements for that? And finally, we had to define our focus areas and our portfolio, and that's the what around our strategy. And the important piece after that, once we have it in place, is how do we measure it? Because we can have, we used to, in HR, it's interesting that the past many years, a lot of everything was around activity. How many programs do we provide for our top talent? How many sessions do we run or learning opportunities? But what's really the outcome and the results of that, and how do we tie it back to the business results? That's been for us the big focus now. And it's not easy because it was a big shift in our thinking, measuring activity to impact and results, but that's really how we do everything now, is how does it link back to the business results? So what you see here, and I'm not going to go through it all, it's quite an interesting list, is our purpose statement within HR. A couple of key things that I would like to highlight is that we would like to really create consumer experiences. And what we mean by that is that an experience you would have with any other thing in your life, we would like you to have the same with HR, that it is available on your mobile phone when you need it, as you need it. It's agile, it's very much suited to your needs, so that's a very, very critical piece. We also would like to be disruptive thinkers within our HR team, and you see that logo at the bottom, the HR punks. You will see that on a lot of our communication within SAP HR. The idea behind it is that do we do big disruption to the traditional way of doing HR? And all the way up to our CHRO, we follow that, and that's certainly a very important part of our culture on how do we disrupt in a way that brings innovation to the organization. So those are some of the elements of our purpose. And when you look at the guiding principles, so this is the how. How do we create our HR strategy? These are the 3 key elements that you see there, simplifying. How do we make any HR interaction simple? The second piece is standardize. And I'm sure for many of you that's an important one, because as organizations grow, you need to have more and more standardized processes. So that's a really, really critical one for us. But then at the same time, we must not lose the human touch. We are human resources for a reason. Maybe in the future, one day we will be called robot resources. Who knows? That might be coming. But the bottom line is, and this is actually in some ways the hardest for us, is as we are trying to simplify and standardize, how do we ensure that there is still human touch there where it's needed? But then how do we automate those things that can be automated? And then at the bottom there, you can also see our digital HR objectives, which is really making sure we are simplifying processes, utilizing integrated data. That's a really big one into any kind of decisions that we make. And also, how do we create better consumer experiences? Now, finally, what you will see is that based on all of the information we collected from our business on what they need to enable them to be running well in the intelligent enterprise, these are the 6 focus areas. This is basically the what are we doing in HR to help our company really run at its best. These 6 areas actually haven't changed in the last 3 or 4 years. What's changing underneath it is the portfolio and all of the details on what we are filling it with, but we still find that these are the 6 key elements that we have to be focusing on as an organization, which is around talent. I'm sure that's a topic that for most of you is extremely critical. That will never be off the agenda, I can guarantee that. Around leadership, around how do we create an agile workplace in the future, both physical workplaces, but generally an agile culture. Learning, how do we create a learning organization? Being an intelligent enterprise, the foundations of that is to have a very strong learning culture, whereby our employees are very well equipped and inspired to continue to learn and to grow. Leading edge digital HR is focusing on our tools, the software that we have, and how do we enable our teams to have the right tools at their fingertips. And finally, how do we create an inclusive culture? A very interesting analogy that I always bring up around diversity and inclusion is that Diversity is being invited to the party, and inclusion is being asked to dance. So we really are trying to create a culture that's very inclusive. And in fact, moreover, the next stage from there is beyond inclusion is to feel belonging. When you are asked to dance, can you actually dance in a style that you feel comfortable in? So that's where we are heading. We have a lot of programs around our inclusive culture, and this is what makes up our HR strategy. Now, how did we deliver on our promises? The first thing we had to do is relook at how we are organized in HR and how do we deliver to our customers. So what you will see here is that in the past, in the traditional three-pillar model, we had HR business partners who were there from everybody from employees to first-line managers to senior leaders. And that really wasn't the right setup for us because each of these segments have different needs and require different skill sets from HR. What we ended up doing is segmenting our customers. So we took this concept from marketing. You will see now there's a lot of interesting marketing concepts coming into HR. And we had a really good look to see who are the key customer segments that we have from an HR perspective. And what we decided is that these are the three segments that we have very different needs, need very different HR support, and need different professionals within our team that can support them. So what we did is we ended up assigning the HR business partners only to our senior leaders to work on strategic work. And it includes everything from organizational design to change management to leading transformation. But they were no longer there for first and mid-level managers and then for employees. You can imagine that this was a huge change that we had to go through, and this new model came into effect this summer at SAP globally. But when I was back in North America, I was leading a country, the country of Canada, and we were the first country that went live with this model almost 2 years ago. So now I've been living in this new model for about 2 years, and what we also did for first and mid-level leaders, we created a new role called an HR advisor, who are there specifically to the needs of the first and mid-level managers. And we also created a new forum for our employees called Employee Experience. So any kind of questions they have around careers, around work and life events, they can now go to this new team, and that's the one that takes care of them. But the underlying foundation of it all is we put a lot of effort on self-service. And I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about how our technology enabled us to become very efficient with self-service. But then also we have a call center called HR Direct, where is basically the foundation of this new model. Everything comes into them from employees, first-line managers, and they are the ones that help everybody understand where they have to go from there. So we had to lay down these foundations and really work on that, and technology really enabled us to do that, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. The next, what you will see here is our technology landscape within SAP HR. And I love this slide because it really encompasses everything that we have. We have SuccessFactors cloud solution, and you might think, well, that's great because you guys own SuccessFactors. Of course, you're going to be using that. But what I can tell you, having been an HR practitioner using it, I have been extremely happy and excited to have SuccessFactors because of the tremendous benefits it brought us. Now we pretty much have over 90% of our processes running in the cloud, and I'm going to walk you through a bit of the journey on what we went through there. Initially, I think the journey started about 4 or 5 years ago. We took the route of going module by module so that it's not one big bang implementation. And the reason behind that was that we wanted to make sure that our employees are coming up with us on the journey and the adoption goes along as we are implementing these modules. So initially we had goals and performance, we had GEM, people profile, and on that we then started having the learning module. Then a little bit later the compensation module. And then we started seeing the amazing benefits of what these modules brought us. I'll give you an example, compensation. For a company of over 90,000 people, we used to take 8-9 weeks to just on spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, do our compensation planning, the annual planning. And it was a very, very difficult process with a lot of mistakes and errors and versions of spreadsheet along the way. Now, having the compensation module in SuccessFactors for the entire company, we are done with the whole process in 3 weeks. end to end. And that includes the first level manager planning, the next level manager approval, the HR approvals, and everything. And it's not only base planning, but for our bonuses as well, for our equity planning, everything in the tool, real time, incredible the benefits and the productivity that we gained by having that. So the reason why we decided to do it step by step instead of implementing everything at the same time was to make sure that our employees can adopt it and come along the journey with us, and that worked really well. And the biggest piece here that I wanted to highlight is what we have is the EC, Employee Central, which is our core HR system. And the next few slides will talk about that in a minute. But before I go there, I want to also tell you a little bit how there are some other elements that complete the portfolio. So for example, we have a tool called Fieldglass, which is also owned by SAP, for contingent workforce. So those of you, that's a topic that's becoming more and more relevant in HR these days, that a large number of our employees are now sometimes contingent employees when you need them for a season, not necessarily for full-time employees. We do have Fieldglass that you can also utilize for that. We also had some solutions that didn't necessarily exist within SAP SuccessFactors, and we worked with our partners to implement it. For example, our Appreciate program is one of those. And also we are now, you can see that SAP Leonardo framework there. That's our innovation powerhouse. That's where we bring together all kinds of emerging technologies into HR. And you can see a couple of examples there. We are starting to experiment with chatbots for our HR direct function, which is AI technology basically. And then we are also trying to use, for example, analytics tools on top of it as well, although SuccessFactors has some fantastic analytics built into it as well. So the good news is that through our ecosystem, we can have some fantastic solutions added that you may need just specifically to your organization as well. And let me talk a little bit about the HR core, because this is a big one for us and it really helped us a lot. So the HR core, we are now live. We went live this August, and we are the largest company out there that has the HR core. Because you could see in a way that we have over 98,000 employees, 152 legal entities. Now, I'm not going to lie, it took us a while to get ready with the EC implementation, and that is because we had to get it right. The core system, we cannot normally, we have now the mentality with all the other modules that it's good enough, let's go with it. But with the core, we had to get it right. So it took us a while because of all of the different customization in each country, the currencies we have to deal with, the languages we have to deal with. But we got it, it's running, and it's incredible. You will see in a minute what are some of the benefits for a variety of stakeholders. So for our employees, they have a much better experience with HR. They can do a lot more now, self-service. They can also do a lot more on their mobile, and it's definitely designed for a much better experience. And our HR team gained tremendous productivity by implementing the HR core, because a lot of the processes that were manual before are now automated, and it's more integrated because we have that core there that drives it all. And finally, our organization is much better enabled now to get ready for the intelligent enterprise. And you can see here also some other benefits of the core implementation. We reduced our data fields by 33%, so we ended up simplifying. Over 75 process flows that were standardized as a part of the process, and our customers are definitely a lot more satisfied. And again, I won't go through it all because I've only got about 10 more minutes left and I don't want to run out of time, but it also shows you what we have been delivering with the EC implementation. Certainly the mobile first was a huge advantage. We do have comprehensive, flexible, and intelligent solutions that are customized for sometimes to certain countries and cultures and localized to where we are operating in. And finally, it's a very well secure, connected, and world-class platform that it's all running on. So there was tremendous benefits of that. One other thing I would just say, again, from an HR practitioner's perspective, that for me was huge throughout this journey as we implemented module after module, is all the learning that came with it. Because what happens is, let's say we implemented the onboarding module or the learning. Beyond just, hey, here's the module, here's how you use it, I always wanted to know as an HR practitioner, why is it designed the way it is? Because that will help me foster adoption and really get people into using it more if I can explain to them why it's designed that way. So what we got from SuccessFactors along the way were these amazing thought leadership series that was teaching us best-in-class HR thought leadership around that particular module. And I really like that. We have some great resources. Steve Hunt is one of them. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with his name. He works for SuccessFactors. He's an amazing thought leader, and he's the mastermind behind a lot of the processes and how we design things within our technology, because it really has to follow the right methodology. And we got that. We learned that instead of just, here's the module, go and work with it, I really understood why it's designed the way it is. Now, a couple of more points. I know I only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to highlight two topics that I know are on top of mind very much for most HR practitioners. One is around diversity and inclusion, and one is around work-life balance within work and employee well-being. One thing that our software now helps us to do as well is to eliminate bias when it comes to decisions around people. And it's something that is definitely impacting many companies, that we have a lot of decision points where there can be bias, and that does not help creating an inclusive environment. So what you see here is, why haven't companies been able to move the needle? There are many touch points and decision points where the bias can come into picture, whether how the businesses are structured, whether who applies for the jobs, who is hired, who do we promote, how do we compensate people. So what you will find is that within the HCM solutions, at least within SuccessFactors, we have now some great tools to eliminate the bias in decision making. And I give you one example that we are using, and it's a really brilliant one, which is something called Job Analyzer. What that does is, when you are post jobs, sometimes the job postings are biased because of the language that's in them. So it promotes a certain group to apply for certain positions, or a certain gender, or a certain age group, and you want it to make sure it's more inclusive. So you can run this Job Analyzer, which has built-in AI in it, and it filters out words that are biased, and it will tell you that this job description is biased in these areas, and I would recommend that you switch it with these words to make it more inclusive. So there are now lots of great tools that we can offer within HCM today, within SuccessFactors, that will help you eliminate the bias in each of the decision points throughout a person's life cycle within your organization. The other topic is around employee well-being. So that's another topic that I know on many companies' minds. If you look at this, some of the stats here around the indirect cost, for me, that was the biggest one, the indirect costs of stress. I noticed within our organization that the number of people going on all kinds of leaves, whether it's short or long-term disability, is increasing. The time people take on sick leave is increasing, because quite often it is stress-related. And it's really not helping us promote an environment that we would like employees to thrive. So what we did is, within SuccessFactors, we ended up coming up with a solution that helps companies become more healthy cultures and healthy environments and promotes well-being. And I'm going to show you. So for example, us as a company, we have introduced quite a few different programs. You can see some of the ones on that first column there, whether it was the mindfulness program at work, whether it's around the autism at work program we introduced to promote well-being at the organization. And our employee engagement has been rising significantly since then. The approach we take is that we use sometimes existing solutions within SuccessFactors, but we also create new solutions through our partners and through our ecosystem as well. And here you can see some of the touch points, again, throughout the life cycle, how we can promote well-being at the workplace. And again, if you are interested, I know we don't have much time, only a few minutes left, but I would love to talk to you more about that at the SuccessFactors booth after the session as well. And how do we measure our success? I just have two quick slides for you to show. One just shows you how our customer satisfaction has been increasing within HR steadily over the last few years. So that's a great upward trend, and we are striving to keep increasing this. But then what we are also really proud of is this one, whereby in 2017, as an organization globally, we received over 281 employer awards. And I know when I was running Canada last year, we had an absolute record year for that. Some of the ones we are the most proud of here are awards like the Glassdoor Award, whereby it's all purely based on our employees' input on how they feel about our organization. And our employee engagement scores have been steadily climbing as well. We are around 85% at the moment globally within SAP. So you can see that there are these great indicators that the culture we have been trying to create has been created, and we're going to keep building on this.